There's a version of your 30s that looks completely fine from the outside. Decent job, nice apartment, going out on weekends, maybe a car you're proud of. By every visible measure, you're doing okay. But under the surface, the math is quietly getting away from you. And the scary part? Most people don't even realize it's happening, because everyone around them is doing the exact same thing. I'm 27. I haven't hit my 30s yet, but I invest, and I've been studying how money actually works for years, and I've watched people I respect walk into this decade making the same mistakes on repeat. Mistakes nobody calls mistakes. Mistakes that just get treated as normal adult life. So today, I want to talk about the financial behaviors that people normalize in their 30s that are actually quietly wrecking their future. Not to scare you, but because nobody's going to tell you this stuff politely. Let's get into it. Mistake number 1, treating debt like a permanent roommate. At some point, a lot of people in their 30s stop trying to eliminate debt and start just managing it, making the minimum, keeping the balance reasonable, telling themselves they'll pay it off when things settle down. Here's the problem. Things don't settle down in your 30s. They get more complicated, and every month you carry that balance. You're paying interest on money you already spent, on stuff you probably don't even have anymore. That's the cruelest part of consumer debt. You're still paying for the vacation, the furniture, the phone upgrade, long after they stopped mattering. Let's put a real number on what that actually costs you. If you're carrying $1,000 a month in debt payments, credit cards, car loan, whatever, and you redirect that into investments instead at a 7% real return, meaning after inflation, over 10 years, that's $173,000. Not from some huge windfall, just from stopping the bleeding. The people who build real wealth in their 30s aren't necessarily earning more. They just stopped sending money backwards. Mistake number 2, ignoring your credit score until it's already a problem. Credit scores are one of those things people either obsess over or completely ignore. And the ones who ignore it usually find out it matters at the worst possible time when they're trying to buy a house. Here's what the difference actually looks like in dollars. Say you're buying a $400,000 home. With a strong credit score, you might lock in a 6.5% rate. Over 30 years, you pay around $510,000 in interest. Not great, but that's how mortgages work. Now let's say your credit is just okay. Not wrecked, just not great. You end up at 7% instead. That 0.5% difference? About $48,000 more over the life of the loan. Same house, same neighborhood, just a worse number that you didn't pay enough attention to. And that number is completely preventable. Pay on time, every time. Keep your credit utilization low, under 30%, ideally under 10%. Don't open new accounts unless you actually need them. Don't close old ones unless they're costing you annual fees you can't justify, because the length of your credit history matters too. None of that is complicated. It just requires not ignoring it. Mistake number 3, winging it financially and calling it flexibility. I know people who genuinely believe that having no financial plan makes them adaptable, like they're keeping their options open, being spontaneous, living in the moment. What they're actually doing is playing whack-a-mole with their money every month, reacting to whatever comes up instead of building toward anything. Your 30s are the first decade where multiple financial targets exist at the same time. Retirement, emergency fund, maybe a house, maybe kids. Without a real plan, those things compete with each other, and none of them win. A solid financial plan doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to cover 5 things: how much you're saving and spending, whether your retirement is actually on track, what happens to your assets and dependents if something happens to you, how you're minimizing your tax burden legally, and how you're checking in on all of it at least once a year. That's it, 5 things. Most people have 0 of them written down anywhere. Mistake number 4, having a thin emergency fund and calling it enough. The standard advice is 3 to 6 months of expenses saved for emergencies, and a lot of people hit 3 months, feel good about it, and stop there. But here's what your 30s actually look like. Your water heater dies. Your car needs a $1,400 repair. You or someone close to you has an unexpected medical bill. Your hours get cut at work. These things don't happen one at a time, and when they stack, 3 months disappear fast. In your 30s, I'd push you towards 6 to 12 months. More if your income varies month to month, But here's what people miss about emergency funds. It's not just about surviving a crisis. It's about how you show up before the crisis hits. When you know you can handle whatever comes, you negotiate differently at work. You don't panic sell your investments when the market drops. You make decisions from a position of strength instead of fear. Keep this money in a high-yield savings account. It's not there to grow. It's there to protect everything else. Mistake number 5, treating retirement savings like something to figure out later. I talk to people in their mid-30s who still haven't gotten serious about retirement. And when I ask why, the answer is always some version of, I'll ramp it up once things are more stable. I get it. There's always a more urgent use for the money right now, but this is exactly the kind of thinking that leads to working until you're 70 and wondering what happened. Here's a benchmark worth knowing. By the time you hit 40, you want roughly 3 times your annual salary saved for retirement. If you're earning around $62,000, that's about $186,000. That number might sound intimidating. But here's what $186,000 at age 40 actually becomes with 0 additional contributions. Just compound growth at a 7% real return over 27 years. $1.2 million by age 67. That's the power of starting early. Not just contributing more, starting earlier. Every year you delay, that math gets harder. And the single easiest move? Every time you get a raise, increase your contribution percentage before you get used to the money. You'll never miss what you never had a chance to spend. Mistake number 6, getting a raise and immediately upgrading your life to match it. This one is so normalized, it almost feels rude to call it a mistake. You earn more, you spend more. Your expenses quietly rise to meet your income, and you end up with the same amount left over at the end of the month as when you were making $30,000 less. Economists call it lifestyle creep. I call it a trap that looks exactly like progress. I've seen it up close working in architecture. Someone lands a better firm, upgrades the apartment, gets the nicer car, starts eating out more, and 2 years later, they're making $30,000 more and somehow still living paycheck to paycheck. The income changed. The habits didn't. The fix is boring, but it actually works. Automate it before you touch it. Every time your income goes up, redirect at least half of that increase to savings or investments before your brain has time to find a way to spend it. Get a $5,000 raise? Automatically increase your investment contributions by $2,500 a year. That $2,500 annually, invested at 7% real returns for 25 years? That's $158,000 just from a small raise that you'll never miss because you never had it to spend in the first place. Mistake number 7, skipping estate planning because it feels too morbid. Nobody wants to think about this in their 30s. You're not supposed to be thinking about this yet, right? But if you have kids, a mortgage, or any meaningful assets, you don't have the luxury of skipping it. Because here's what happens if you do. A court decides, not you. A court decides who raises your kids, what happens to your accounts, who gets your house. Strangers making decisions about everything you built. That's not a hypothetical. That's what happens by default when there's no documentation in place. The good news, basic estate planning is not the complicated, expensive process most people imagine. A simple will and a power of attorney can be done online for most people without an attorney. If your situation is complex, multiple properties, a business, complicated family dynamics, then yes, get a lawyer involved. But something is infinitely better than nothing, and most people have nothing. Mistake number 8, deprioritizing your health and telling yourself you'll fix it later. I know this sounds like a wellness video now. Stay with me. The average American spends over $300,000 on healthcare over their lifetime. That number isn't fixed. Your choices now directly affect what percentage of that you'll actually pay. If you can reduce it by even 20% through preventive care, consistent movement, and not running your body into the ground, that's $60,000 back in your pocket. And that's before you factor in sick days, career opportunities you miss when you feel terrible, or the energy cost of running on empty for years. Your 30s are when the bill for how you treated yourself in your 20s starts to arrive. And the earlier you build sustainable habits, not extreme ones, just consistent ones, the cheaper that bill gets. Move your body regularly, sleep like it matters, manage stress before it manages you. The gym membership isn't an expense, it's insurance. Mistake number 9, putting off college savings because it feels too far away. If you have kids, or plan to, this one matters more than most people realize. College costs have grown at roughly twice the rate of inflation for the last 30 years. Right now, a 4-year degree at a public university costs over $40,000 per year when you include everything. Private schools are closer to $70,000 annually, and there's no sign of that slowing down. The mistake isn't failing to save everything. The mistake is waiting to start. Time is the only variable you can't get back. A 5-2-9 plan is built specifically for this. Money grows tax-free. Withdrawals for qualified education expenses are tax-free. Many states give you a tax deduction just for putting money in. Put in $200 a month from the time your kid is born at a conservative 6% return, and by the time they're 18, you're looking at around $77,000. Even $100 a month gets you to about $38,700. That's not nothing. That's the difference between your kid starting life in debt and starting life with options. And if they end up not needing it for college, you can transfer it, use it yourself, or, under recent rules, roll a portion into a Roth IRA. Mistake number 10, knowing what you should do and not doing it anyway. This is the one nobody wants to talk about, because it's not really about money anymore. Most people reading this already know they should be doing most of this stuff. They know they should be saving more. They know they should have a plan. They know the emergency fund is thin. They know they've been putting off the will for 2 years. Knowing is not the problem. The gap is between knowing and actually doing. And that gap gets more expensive every single year. Not just financially, but in the stress of knowing you're behind, the anxiety of a surprise expense hitting a thin safety net, the feeling at 45 of looking back and wondering why you didn't just start. What I've noticed, watching people around me, studying this stuff, managing my own finances, is that the people who actually close that gap don't do it all at once. They pick one thing. They set it up. They automate it, so it doesn't depend on willpower. Then they move to the next thing. You don't need to fix everything this week. You need to fix one thing, this week. Your 30s don't have to be a financial disaster, but they also don't fix themselves. The mistakes I just walked through aren't rare. They're the default. Most people around you are making at least half of them right now, and feeling fine about it, because everyone else looks the same from the outside. The question is whether you want to look fine or actually be fine when it counts. Pick the one mistake on this list that hit closest to home, not the easiest one, the one you've been avoiding, and go deal with it this week. If you want to see what these mistakes look like in real time, in real people's actual financial behavior, go check out my last video where I broke down exactly that. The link's right there. I'll see you in the next one.